Hello and welcome to Let's Talk SEO. One of the questions I often get asked from, especially my clients, but now I get emails from people is they ask me, why does Google have to roll out multiple updates a year? And now this year, we saw Google not only roll out updates in March, August, but then there was an update, a core update. So this is specific. So this is specific to the core update. And I'll tell you why. So they rolled out a core update in November. Then a week later, they roll out a core update in December. So that core update has finished rolling out. So December core update has been announced that they have finished rolling out the December update. Now, why is that an issue? Well, because the core update now includes the ACU and the spam update. So when they say core update, it actually means, not just the core, but they may be also updating their spam update. It's also maybe the ACU update part of it. And then also a few other tweaks that they're making to the algorithm. And so in light of that, you will see a whole lot of volatility and you have no idea what to expect. The issue with these updates is Google doesn't tell us anything about what they're doing on the back end. So SEOs like us need to take a look at rankings. We need to take a look at Google Search Console. We need to see how Google Analytics looks like, because tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush, as good as they are, they don't really give you much of the picture because they're using more predictive models unless they have data from within sites that are registered with them, which maybe they're drawing data from that, but I don't think. But the information I have on these tools is that they don't. They use a predictive model, so you can't trust those tools. So what you have left is, like for me, I have like 70, 80 websites on my own that I'm looking at across different niches. So I know when the update is rolling out, even before when it is announced, because I see the rumble in the jungle, so to speak. So why is this important? Now, Google has put out a document about its update. Before I go into the document, I just want to emphasize the fact that the December core update, regardless of what Google tells you, has been specific to e-commerce stores. This may be strange or this may be a conspiracy theory, but Google does this every year. So we saw the same thing happen last year as well. So Google launches these updates right around the time of the holiday season, and it disrupts a lot of e-commerce activity because the rankings start fluctuating. And when the rankings start fluctuating, people then go on to try to make up for that by advertising. I think this is Google's way of pushing people to advertise on this platform. Now, I can't obviously prove it. This is anecdotal evidence. This is just based on stuff that I'm seeing, clients I work with. Some of my clients have pretty large budgets when it comes to advertising and marketing. They're big brands, and even they get shook by the update. So this is not something that smaller websites are only impacted by. If anything, I'm seeing smaller websites being less impacted by these updates. Nevertheless, so the document that Google put out it's called a Q&A on Google search updates. Now, this is where I try to explain to you why Google might not be telling us the whole truth, and what it's really about. So the document has here, says what updates are coming this month, and I've put the screenshot of this question over here. So it says we've announced the November 2023 core update is rolling out starting today. Why another so soon after the October 2023 core update? We have different systems that are considered core to our ranking process. This month's core update involves an improvement to a different core system than last month. Our guidance about core updates is the same for both. If you remember, Google said that the HCU will be part of the core update. So keep that in mind when you're reading this. So, which means that the core update, the way it was defined last year, the definition of that has changed, because now the core update could also mean the HCU update. It could also mean the spam update. And they've all bundled that under the head of the core update because they do not want you to know what they're updating with their systems. So you don't know what to check on your site, and you don't know what types of sites will be impacted. So we expect an update to our review systems to start rolling out next week. That will also mark a point when we'll no longer be giving periodic notifications of improvements to our review system, because they will be happening at a regular ongoing pace. We'll be updating our page about the system to reflect this. We'll also update the page if the system evolves in some notable way, such as covering more languages. Those who do reviews should read our guidance and stay focused over time. So they're updating the review system as well. So I've not seen a lot of review sites impact it, at least not the ones that I'm monitoring, and some of the ones that I own. But it could be that it's a separate subset of systems, subset of the review system that they update. But I've not seen much activity with businesses that do reviews. Now, the question clients ask me is, we've pumped out all of this content. We used to get a whole lot of traffic. We don't get traffic anymore from the content that we used to pump out, and now, website is sort of dead. My question to them is, what's the goal of your site? Is it to sell more? Is it to get more subscriptions? Is it to collect more leads? If it's any of that, why are you pumping out more content? So here's what happens. When you pump out 100 pages of content and you're selling a product and you have one product page that sells a product, Google will not necessarily see you as an e-commerce tool. You might be using WooCommerce, you might be using Shopify, you might be using any other platform. Google doesn't really care. What Google cares about is what's on your site. So if you have 100 pages of reviews about your product or some other products or interviews or whatever, and then one page that sells products, you do not and cannot expect that one page to rank. You might get a lot of traffic, and that traffic will die whenever Google hits the site because it doesn't see that site as being relevant. But at the end of the day, if you're pumping out a great deal of content, this type of update, like the review system, like the helpful content update, this is going to hit you hard. So unless you're selling a system, or you're selling software, or you're selling products, or you're selling services, you shouldn't be pumping out a whole lot of content. This is where I often get in trouble with my clients when I tell them you shouldn't be pumping out content, because they think taking action with SEO is pumping out content, and that is what I'm strictly against. If we put out content, it's with a goal, and we set that goal in, we figure out what type of content meets the intent of the site. It's rankable. It will bring traffic to the site that converts. So we just don't want people coming and reading our articles. We want people read our articles and to take the desired action on our site. That's the only way we'll explain to Google what that site really does. Pumping out a great deal of content, AI content, whatever, just doesn't work anymore. It may sound sexy, like you use some tool and you pump out 100 pages of content every day. Not the best way to do SEO now. Why does Google do updates? Well, we use automated systems to rank search results. Like anything, they aren't perfect. We're always looking for ways to improve these systems to show better results. Our blog from 2021 is still useful in explaining about. So the main reason why Google does updates is it's a cat and mouse game with SEO. So once we discover let's say a loophole or a few loopholes with Google search rankings, Google tries to figure out why a site that's not a quality site is ranking number 1, 2, or 3, and then it tries to patch that loophole. And in doing so, they have these updates. Now, in my experience, many of the little loopholes I'm familiar with across many of the industries haven't been patched. And that's because I haven't talked about it. That's because I haven't gone to some seminar and presented about it. But I'll tell you this, no amount of content, no amount of links, backlinks, no amount of anchor text ratios, no amount of malicious links have an impact on your site as much as identifying and clarifying the intent of your site. So take it for what it is. This is something that Google wants you to do. There's an effective way to do it, and there are not so effective ways to do it. I have found probably one of the most effective ways to achieve this for some industries, but for other industries, it's not that simple. Then there are a few questions. There's a link in the description to this document. You might want to read it. The interesting question here is what should I do if there's an update? If there's an update, chances are there's nothing to do for most creators who have already been working to create great, helpful, reliable, people-first content. That's what our system seeks to reward. Those doing so will largely seek updates, come and go, will notice, or they might find themselves performing better in search. If a particular update happens and you notice a change in traffic, look closely at the guidance we provide specific to the update. The Google Search dashboard will link to this guidance, review to see if there are improvements you make. This is a very disingenuous answer. The reason for that is if you do a search for any major industry, you see big brands that are ranking. So try doing how to train my dog, try searching for how to build six-pack abs, try searching for, how to buy the best DSLR camera, try searching for, how to how to find an apartment in whatever city. And most times, 9 out of 10 times, you will see big brands that are ranking. So the top 4, 5, 6 positions are all big brands. Um, the guidance on those sites, little to none. Information offered on the sites is little to none. It says that it's a big brand. We also see site reputation abuse still, even after the December update, going on. Google doesn't really care about. So most of the hit is to smaller websites. Until unless Google defines what helpful content is, this is a very generic statement because Google can say, you know what these brands are producing is helpful content. The discussion you see on Reddit is helpful content. Really? Is it helpful? Are those people experts? No, not really. But, Google does not tell us what it defines as helpful content. And the definition it has given us thus far is very vague. So take it for what it is. Then Google asks, so then the question is, if my traffic drops after an update, does that mean I'm spamming? If you see changes after if a non-spam update, it's not a spam issue. So again, Google is kind of, giving you a peek behind the scenes that if it's the spam update, if you see a change after a non-spam update, so in a way it says, if you're running a spam site, but the update is not a spam update, but you see your traffic go down, then it's definitely something else. So, however, there might be other non-spam content issues to consider, uh, technical issues. If you saw a change after the spam update, our systems might have determined you were spamming or perhaps discounting spam links that might have benefited your site. So over here, this is interesting. Discounting spam links that might have benefited your site. In a way, Google is saying that disavow that you shouldn't be doing because there's always a potential that spam links might be contributing some value to your site. So when you go out and you do this whole disavow thing, which I am strictly against, but some of my clients are hell bent on doing it because a lot of the bigger YouTubers tell them you should go out and you should disavow all of these links and this will bring your site back. Does not work that way. I'm sorry. A lot of the big YouTubers don't really know what they're talking about. In fact, when I watch a lot of these videos, I don't even think that they do SEO. So, take that for what it is. Okay, so this is another question. Aren't there supposed to be no updates during the holiday shopping season? We do try to avoid having updates during the late November to December. Really? Last year, you guys did the same thing. That's a blatant lie. Um, Period when possible, but it's not always possible. We have updates that can improve search that have been developed over the course of several months. We release them when they're ready. So let me understand this. So you develop the updates over the course of several months, but then you only find that November and December, the end of December, the beginning of January are the best months to put them out. Okay. And they all affect the e-commerce stores. Yeah. Tell me a better story. So the problem here is that Google is really disingenuous. It doesn't tell us anything about its updates. As you can see, in some cases, it just blatantly lies to people. And if you're a creator, you might think, you know what, my website is done for. I'm not going to rank. The thing is, you do a search, you take a look at the search. Serves today are not going to be the search 6 months from now. Okay, so they change. If you go ahead and make major changes to your website, like remove all of the content, strip out all the images, just do all of that, and Google suddenly changes the algorithm, says, you know what, we want websites that have a great deal of content. And how do you bring all of the content back? That's not the right approach. The right approach is to do a full audit of your site. Figure out what's working for your site. Figure out where your traffic is coming from. Figure out how much of your traffic that's coming in organically is converting. Take that data and factor that into your SEO decisions. So I hope you guys liked the video. Like and subscribe as always. Leave a comment below and happy ranking.